Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 10:23 a.m. on the 4th of October 2025, Saturday morning. Shabbat Shalom to those of you who are of Jewish persuasion or conviction or condescension, cultural motif or descent, or however you want to fit in the grand scheme of Yiddishkeit across the globe. Of course, as you all know, I'm not just Jewish by choice, a Jew by choice, but so therefore choosing not to practice anymore after 36 years of very difficult abuse dynamics in my community here in Brisbane. But anyway, it is what it is. There are those in my community that still love me because they know how badly I was treated and how evil it was. So, to you who reach out to me from time to time and show me that you still remember the effort I put into raising my girls as Jews and contributing to the community, so I honour you that you remember me with kindness. And yes, but as I started to say, I'm not just a person of Jewish, I guess, proclivities or mental programming, and indeed I believe I have a Jewish soul, a rebellious Jewish soul, but nevertheless a neshama that is quite determined and quite powerful in her own way. But I'm also a witch by ancestry and a shaman by virtue of lived experiences, many decades of near deaths and walking with my spirit people. So really, I guess if you're going to put a label on what kind of religiosity I come from, I'm more of a universalist now in older age. I still believe in creator and one source field that is reflecting itself, and we're reflecting back to that energy all potentiates of all it could be or would be if it was in mortal flesh experiencing sometimes quite wonderful things, to be honest. Life's got some wonderful magical moments, and it's for those that we all kind of carry on plutzing along, waiting for the magic and the wonder and the awe. And again, like survival, it comes from in here, creating, co-creating with God or the gods, and taking delight in what is, and being mindful at times of no matter how dark and heavy things get, that there is still beauty in the world and people who love us, even if we don't know that they're loving us because they're absent for whatever reasons. There's people out there I know that look at me with great fondness and may not communicate with me very often, but they're out there. They're out there, people are there. So I wanted to acknowledge that this morning. Let me just move this. Hope we don't get blocked off because my keyboard is naughty like that. So over there. Right, I've been up since about 8. Had a better night last night, but my eyes are burning. I'm still feeling mightily exhausted, but I've been up since 8. What did I do this morning? I just sort of little odd jobs like you don't need to know what those odd jobs, but personal hygiene care. But I need to have a shower and wash my hair, and there's a few things I need to do. But I decided that I would read a story instead. And I feel quite wrung out from about a week and a half of not sleeping all that well. It is what it is. Fighting off everything. So I've been listening to a podcast this morning on Danny Jones' podcast, a gentleman talking about his experiences as a death investigator and conducting autopsies and preparing bodies and all that, immersed in all that darkness. So and death is the ultimate gift, really. It comes to us all in the end, sometimes in most horrific and unpleasant ways. So I turned off at the part where they were talking about the guy that was found having died of autoerotic asphyxiation, which is a ghastly way to end yourself. Well, maybe he was deriving pleasure from it in the last gasps, who would know, but I wouldn't recommend it, and I just find it disturbing, actually, the things that people will do to themselves. Kind of a form of self-hatred, as if there aren't enough, predators out there, they predate on themselves. I guess that's a side effect of some kind of childhood trauma, though, so we'll forgive that. But anyway, the gentleman was speaking about how he had to notify the mother because he was young and inexperienced. She asked how her son died, which is what the first question you ask when you find out someone close to you has died. And or even not close to you, just curiosity, I guess. But particularly families want to know. And he very naively and foolishly told her, so she was left with that image in her mind for the rest of her life, how her son in his late 30s had died. Awful, and I could hear that he felt genuinely contrite that he had been so forthcoming and kind of glib. And then I got myself a bit distressed because both my daughters are estranged to me. I guess they won't care to find out how I've died when I eventually die. It won't be by anything grotesque like that, I hope not. Got no plans of that anyway. If you hear of anything like that, I've been murdered in the most sick and venal way. But it just struck me, I thought, I hope my children don't hear about my death, and in some awful way, it's just kind of, it's a final kick in the guts, isn't it, really? It is. It's like, I'll get you good. Like my grandmother, when she suicided with her head in the gas oven, was the final kick to my mother. It was a defiance, but I understand because she threatened suicide that morning, and my mother's soon-to-be husband, fiancé, said to go ahead and finish the job. So she must have thought about it throughout the day and thought, what are my options alone in post-war Germany and dire poverty, widowed, had lost her husband a few years prior to tuberculosis, and she herself was suffering from end-stage tuberculosis and had always been mentally unstable at the best of times. She was violent to my mother all throughout her childhood, so there was that. She wasn't particularly a nice mother, but she's telling her adult kids, her only adult child, and her soon-to-be son-in-law that I'm about to thinking about leaving this mortal coil, and instead of, if not kindness, at least a bit of basic bloody respect, they're telling her to finish the job. And the same thing was said to me some years ago with one of my, I've had 3 suicide attempts, and one of them was a bit melodramatic, even by my standards. I look back on it now and I go, well, that was just a bit histrionic, wasn't it? But in that headspace, at that point in time, I was perfectly serious. I was intending to go ahead and finish the job. And my younger daughter, Jasmine, actually said it to me. The same words, the exact same words. Go ahead and finish the job. And I had every intention of finishing it. I was actually in my car trying to ironically gas myself too. Makes me wonder how much of that was kind of a DAE monic influence from my grandmother, because history repeating. And what year was that? I'm trying to remember. It was I was under extreme trauma and distress because my mother had been granny dumped into a Moreton Bay nursing care unit when her husband had died by his 2 greedy, salacious, vicious, putrid slut daughters who only wanted my mother's money. That was patently obvious from the very beginning, and I went through the paperwork and the letters that were written and the putrescence. And it destabilised me, and I had no support at that point in time. I mean, I was in therapy with my previous elderly psychiatrist, but, I had no one to cuddle me and hold me and say everything's going to be okay. Had no partner. And anyway, I can't remember what the trigger was. No, it was prior to that. It was actually prior to that. The Bucky bastard was still alive, Buck Shearer, my mother's last husband. So it was. It would have been in 2005, before my mother got granny dumped, and before I had the major gynecological urology surgery in 2007. Anyway, the trigger was Buck was, as usual, because he just wanted my mother's money and he wanted to ensure that I didn't inherit. So he was slandering me and saying that I attacked them and smashed up their house. And they managed to get the DVO put through on me because I was told to sit outside the wrong courtroom, and completely traumatised and distressed, I sat outside the wrong courtroom for 5 hours. Didn't even realise that the other courtroom going in was meant to be my hearing. So there was that. Anyway, I was in such distress that I can't remember exactly. I'll have to go through my diaries when the suicide happened. I think it was a few months after. It was like there was this like calm before the storm, and then I was just like, that's it, I'm out of here. Anyway, my younger daughter was very cruel to me, and I still tried to maintain a relationship with her up until about 2006, when I kicked both my kids out of the house because they were just so, Jasmine particularly, were just so nasty and not doing the right thing, expecting Crystal and I to pay for everything and, pay for food and bills and not contributing, and it was just beyond awful, all of it. Why am I going on about this now? Don't know. But anyway, that suicide attempt was kind of the first major attempt. I'd had a lifetime of ideation, occasional flirtation with the idea of it, but that was the first serious, very serious attempt. And it was kind of bizarre because I'm in the fucking car. I put myself in the back seat of the car with a garden hose, through the window of the car from from the exhaust pipe, and it was working, by the way. It was starting to feel foggy in the head and kind of lapse out of consciousness. And Crystal and Jasmine had just walked off to go ahead and finish the job. Anyway, Crystal was freaking out. So, there's a reason why my kids want nothing to do with me, and it's to do with trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, and not knowing how to deal with a mother who'd been savagely brutalised most of her life, emotionally, physically, sexually, financially, even spiritually. So their way of coping, which is perfectly understandable, and I don't hold any grudges towards that, was to victim blame me and walk away, leave me with it. And in a way, it's probably the best thing, because then the only stressor in my life now is worrying about keeping my sorry ass alive and my birdie's alive, and it's just us now. But yeah, it was a very bizarre event that night, because I don't know why, and I'm not normally an immodest sort of a person, apart from, I stopped wearing makeup because I really can't be asked. But I used to always have full makeup and be very well presented. But the really odd thing was that that night I had a t-shirt on but no knickers. It's odd. I think I had a bra on, and a t-shirt, no undies. It's very odd. It's almost primal, this craving death so much that particular night. And anyway, when Jasmine said to me, go ahead and finish the job, I didn't get angry like my grandmother and think, oh yeah, I'm going to finish the job. I was just so detached. It was very, very strange, very strange. And so I'm sitting there in the car and just waiting for the carbon monoxide fumes to finally kill me. And as I said, it was getting foggier and foggier and foggier, and I was starting to drift off a bit into a kind of a sleep. It wasn't really a sleep, a pleasurable sleep, but skirting around the edges of unconsciousness. And it was at that point that something kicked in, and I decided, no, fuck you, I'm not going to die because of some fucking arsehole. And my own daughter telling me, finish the job. You fucking arseholes is all I could think of, My defiance, my will to live, my will to thrive, my will to choose me kicked in, and I got out of the car and packed up half a lung and felt pretty bloody weak, turned the car off, climbed back up my steps, climbed into bed. Next thing I know, my former friend, who was a forensic psych nurse, turned up, stood in my doorway. Crystal must have phoned her. I don't know how she got involved. Anyway, she just turned up, stood in my bedroom doorway and just stared at me. Really cold as the fucking grave. Almost as if to say, well, fuck, And I wasn't being, I'd say it was being history on it, but actually wasn't really being dramatic. Like, I really wanted out. Every time that's happened, I've been perfectly fucking serious. It's why I'm still in therapy, people of Earth, after 30 years. So she just sort of stared at me. I actually thought I was dreaming, because when I was looking at her, she was sort of because of all the carbon monoxide, I guess she was just looking a bit like in a haze, like a glamour photo where you just but not quite in focus. Probably didn't have my glasses on either. Anyway, I mean, you kind of have to laugh, but it's not funny. So anyway, she walks over and she said, "What did you do that for?" I said, "Just because." She nodded. She took my pulse, felt my pulse, and she's holding my wrist and counting the heartbeats. And I don't know what that told her because I'm not a nurse. So obviously I wasn't deemed to be in a bad enough state. She just kind of looked at me and nodded and said, "I'm going home now, and you better have a cup of tea and sort yourself out," and left. A forensic psychiatric nurse that works with homicidal murders probably had more empathy for them than a best friend. Just left. And then later on, when I was actively suicidal again, February 2015, I said to her, because I'd stay friends with her because I didn't hold her cold clinical demeanour against her. Just figured it was years of training and detachment and probably her own form of PTSD, am I right? So stayed friends with that bloody woman. Can you believe it? 15-year friendship with it. Jesus. But I survived her too. Survived them all. Survived them all, people of her. All my users and abusers and mummies, flying monkeys and henchmen and women. Survived them all. It's a testament to my power as a woman. Anyway, the second time I mentioned to her that I thought I was suicidal, she just handed me a card from Metro North and said, "Go and see their outpatients. Don't burden me with your problems." I'd been rescuing her daughter from drug deals gone bad, drugged out boyfriends gone bad and feral, and being an auntie and a strong support to her granddaughter that she was raising. I did a lot for that family, and when the chips went down, I was shucked off like a husk. Evil it was. Truly evil. So, but once I came to that gnosis, February 2015, I thought, right, I'm done with you now. That was the end of that friendship. And then I didn't actually attempt my second serious attempt. I said there's been 3, didn't I? So no, it was my third attempt until August 2015. And I've done well. I've fought back from that dark, beaten down period of my life. And 2020 came with the COVID insanity and sadism and draconian control systems and the evil, so much fucking evil, and I just laughed at it. Spent the whole time basically laughing at it. There's nothing could be worse than my lived realities, and that's why I'm a shaman, because I've survived all of it. Quite astonishingly, even to my mind, I don't know how I've survived all of it, but I have. And I almost went dancing last night, which is my characteristic Friday night wild dance, my defiance against all my abusers, past, present, no doubt future. And I was just flying everywhere in my spirit, treadling my spinning wheel and spinning wall, and really, the longing to go out and dance was powerful, but I knew I was exhausted and that it's actually not safe for me to go out when I'm exhausted because I can't be as hypervigilant as I normally am. I lose my temper or I get a bit fractious when I'm exhausted and overcompensating. So I stayed home, and it's good that I stayed home actually, and I had a better sleep last night. So I'm okay, is what I'm telling you. I'm perfectly fine. I'm doing okay. I'm functioning very well, considering, my life histories and the abuse dynamics and the isolation and the marginalisation because people victimise you or gaslight you or victim blame you, sabotage you, and then they walk away. My own daughters did that. So it's nothing new under the sun, by the way. It's why I handled it as well as I did. 3 years estrangement with my eldest daughter now. I've handled it. I'm not liking it, but I've handled it because, if people, including your own blood, can't be with you in kind and honouring ways, then it's better that they're not with you. It's better than being constantly begging for love and for scraps of love and trying to hold people close to you that don't actually like you all that much or have any respect for you. And anything, even death is preferable than living like that. And as you can see, I was prepared to die, and that was denied me too. But anyway, very dark video this morning, but I just wanted to speak about how on the cold face and the horror and the ghastly horror of the reality that is dying and the death process, there is still life and beauty and hope and real love out there. Like my dancing skeletons, dancing joyously and defiantly, even in death. And it's a powerful and a beautiful thing, but unless you've survived your own death a multitude of times, very few people can understand it or relate to it. And that means that I'm limited to who can actually be in my life and tolerate me, be with me, and it's a bit odd. So let us continue. We're 28 minutes in. I'll put a trigger warning on this because of the subject matter and my own purging, I guess, of past situations with people of the past. It flares up from time to time, and it's, I guess, part of the healing journey too. Try not to remain stuck in that space. I was kind of stuck for a long time in a holding pattern, and when I see patterns repeat and the recycling, almost deja vu, different characters but same modus operandi, it's very, very chilling and terrifying. Like, part of me like being in a horror movie, quite frankly. And it's a dream that I, the psychedelic dreamer, would love to wake up from one day, but I guess when I eventually die and transition, I'll just begin another dream, won't I? Or the same dream, but hopefully upgrade on that modelling Hopefully. My psychiatrist said something to me very interesting, not last session, but the session before, and I've been thinking deeply about it. It's very, very true and a bit triggering in a way, but in a good way, like a little nudge from the multiverse. I said to him, I wonder if I'm going to hell when I die because I've been so angry and distressed and wrathful, at times vengeful. Not that I've enacted any vengeance on anyone, but in my heart and soul thinking, you bastards, you epic fucking bastards. Certainly not wishing people well who did me and my daughters great harm, because what they did to me affected my daughters, and awful, it was beyond awful. And I have no sense of forgiveness for those people, none, because they did it quite willfully, vicious and sadistically. They enjoyed it, like the childhood sexual predators. They enjoyed diminishing my child's body and my spirit and fragmenting my mind. They enjoyed every minute of it. All of them, the enablers and the active predators. Beyond evil they were, and no doubt, whatever realm they've gone to in the next dimension, still are. People don't very often change. They really don't. So, but my psychiatrist said to me, I said to him, I wonder if I'll be going to hell. But his name's Brian. Brian said, because I said I've not been forgiving enough, and I've not let go, and I'm holding a lot of rage still, and it's a rage I'll probably be holding like an eternal flame until the day I die. I'll never be a Christian and turn the other cheek and forgive and forgive and forgive, because actually I tried that in the past, forgiving, being conciliatory and being tolerant and going back time and time and time again to the same abusers. My mother, my former friend, the forensic psych nurse, giving them more chances than Far Lap ever had. Well, Far Lap was a champion racehorse, so more chances than the scratched horse in an important race ever had is what I mean. And forgiveness became a double-edged Damoclean sword, because it meant they were forgiven, gave them carte blanche to continue on being vicious and cruel and sadistic and sadomasochistic, because it hurt them more than it hurt me sometimes, ultimately, because ultimately it stains their soul, darlings. Soul stain. Which you can't clean up so easily once you reach that point. Anyway, I looked at him and I said, I'm pretty sure I'll be sent to hell when I go. And he looked at me very heartfelt and genuine. It was a real moment that will echo and resonate in my life for a very long time. He looked at me and he said, you're not going to hell, Tanya. You already lived through hell in this life. I can't imagine that if there's a God, they'll be putting you in hell again. Wasn't he sweet? I do wonder about that though, the soul staining. If I've stained myself so much by remaining in a state of hurt and pain and trauma and agony and form of fucking torture, if the truth be known, of not being able to finally shed all that, if that will be a hell that I carry with me when I go to the next dimension, and if I'll be sent back again to this planet for yet another lifetime of yet more viciousness on perpetrators. I can't quantify how evil that would actually be, to have to do this life again. So, to preserve my mind, I have to actively try not to think about that. And how do I try not thinking about things? Dancing as fast as I can on the coalface amongst quite often people who are envious and full of enmity and viciousness. Yes, I put myself in that space because I want to enjoy music and move my body and be active and reasonably healthy and be out in the world amongst other humans. There was a man that was actually quite savage to me the last time I went dancing at the Stones Corner Hotel. He was savage. Started with the gaslighting and the victim blaming. Why hasn't therapy worked for you? Why are you still in therapy for 30 years? What's wrong with you? And I yelled out. I couldn't help myself. Yelled it out. Child sexual abuse. I'll be in therapy until the day I die. Even he kind of recoiled a bit. Didn't expect me to be so upfront and in his face with it. But, I'm conscious that people like that don't have good intentions towards me and actually aren't my friends. And it's not out of ignorance, because they know exactly who I am. They've been watching me and studying me for years. So to behave like that is actively malignant. Anyway, I didn't go dancing last night, not because I'm a coward or going to let those bastards win over me, but simply because I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from spinning wool, sorting beads and making intricate little, fancy little, I'll show you what I've been doing. It's actually a bit mad, to be honest, because it's filling up my days. Why does that lid keep falling into my rubbish bin? So these are all the summer beads left over from my mother's market stall, like all these ones. They were diamantic earrings, but summer beads I've acquired over the years. But anyway, my collection of beads that I'm not actually doing anything really with, so don't know why I decided to put so much effort in, but I cut up. I've been doing this for 2 days or 2 afternoons. I cut up this styrofoam piece of packaging and I put it on the back of most of the beads that I deem to be a bit fragile because they're glass or diamante. It took me hours and hours and hours of cutting it up and putting it in and pulling the beads out, putting them back in. It's kind of playing, really, isn't it? Playing. I've been playing. distracting myself. But I'm very happy with it. I need to buy more of these, but they're like $5 each, which is expensive anyway. It's not really, but it is when you don't have a lot of money. And I just buy, a few at a time. Like I bought 3 the other week, so that was $15. And I just been playing with that, putting beads and making it all nice. And I'm kind of obsessed with having my house all sorted and optimizing what's left of the space I have. So that's part of what's driving that. I want to buy more Perspex boxes like that and get all the beads, all the smaller quantities, the annoying little quantities of beads, put in those little trays because it's easier, it's tidier, and it takes up ultimately less space. That's the plan anyway. That's the obsession at the moment. It has become a bit of an obsession. Yes, I'm a bit annoyed. I'm a bit frustrated and annoyed because, for example, this is very heavy, but I'll bring it down. Jared found these wonderful Perspex boxes years ago, thrown out in a bin. So I've got 2 big ones and a few smaller ones, but I wouldn't mind buying or acquiring more of them because they're so good for keeping beads in. But you see what I mean by, for example, I've got all these small quantities of beads and all these individual little bead pots, and I think it would be better. Some of them won't fit in those little trays that I just showed you, but it would be better if I had the smaller quantities all in one tray, and then I'd have a tray of gold findings and a tray of silver findings and have it all more manageable. I think that's the plan. But it's all very well, but it costs money to buy all these things. But like I said, I just buy a few things each fortnight when I get paid, and gradually it builds up. So that's what I'll be doing, I think, sorting those, because you go to make something and then you can't find things because they're all higgledy-piggledy, and so I don't want to make things anymore. Look, honestly, when I die, it'll all get chucked, it'll all get thrown, and finally it'll get thrown over to charity or just get sent to the tip. So much of my mother's stuff got chucked out because we didn't have a lot of time to sort it, and I was trying to sort it, but then the public trustee said, no, we gave you a week, but now you have to stop sorting now. That was nasty too, because the stepdaughters had the neighbours spying as if we're doing something wrong. It's my mother's stuff, it's my inheritance. Those fucking bastards. That was another ongoing trauma. And it took me, all through the will dispute, from my mother's death in 2010 till September 2012. It took me a few more years before I finally cracked and got attempted suicide again. And it was kind of, again, a delayed reaction to all that fucking ghastly horror and losing and being financially raped really by lawyers. And I mean, they made sure I got a car and enough money to fix my teeth and buy a bed, so there is that, but it's a fraction of what I should have inherited, and it's just evil. The viciousness that I put through, the savagery. I burnt all the will dispute documentation in 2020. I just thought, why am I holding on to this evil slime. It drips off my walls like slime. And I must admit, since I got rid of all that documentation, my house feels free and light and happy and cheerful and purified again. It took that much. I had to burn lots. I had to burn off a lot of ugliness and shed a lot of karma. It was a lot. But anyway, spinning my wool yesterday, I'm very conscious that, this is my life now. There's no money and cumulative traumas that flare up from time to time. And no man to love me and be a partner to me. And, no family members active in my life apart from my friends Jared and Lynn. And it's a very lonely existence in a way. Very lonely. But then again, loneliness is a state of mind. You can choose to, even though you're alone, be conscious that you're surrounded by people who out there in the world somewhere do love and care for you and protect you and cheer you on and motivate you and inspire you and encourage you, as I have done for many other people out in the music scene and other avenues of my life. When I was practicing Reformed Chew, I used to take so much delight in other people's accomplishments, wondering when one day my time might come. Well, my time came and my time went because it was sabotaged by viciousness. So I can't help being very distressed and sad about that actually, because it was my one hiatus in a life of ghastly horror. But there may be other hiatuses. Just don't know what's around the corner, do you? But I fought hard. I fought hard against this COVID insanity that we're all scrabbling in the fecal matter of other people's cowardice and shilling and atrophies. It's going to take a long time to heal from that. And I already had so much to heal from prior to that. So it was a heavy burden that was landed on my shoulders, a heavy yoke, and I'm slowly unshackling from that yoke, by the way. So I can't do this alone. I can't fight like this constantly alone. And I choose not to anyway. So instead I've been, as I say, playing with my bead collection and bead supplies and a week of weeding bindies, which still haven't reached completion on that. The side and garden, front garden, I'm just going to have to do the bindi hop because I'm exhausted and done with that. And the spinning the wool, I'm really enjoying the spinning of the wool. It's once you get it going, get into a flow state, it's actually quite soothing to the nerves. Anyway, I wanted to read you the Silmarillion, but I've talked all about my own personal stuff. So I'll end this video here and I'll come back and I'll read the Silmarillion. I'll split it up and I'll put trauma warnings, trigger warnings on this because of the subject matter. But yes, every day of my life, every breath of my life, every moment of my life, everything I've ever made or created, good, bad or indifferent, is a testament to my power as a woman to have survived my childhood, my adolescence, my marriage, my divorce, my mother's, taking up with that last bastard, the vicious, sadistic, murderous men I took up with as well in my 30s. It's been immense, people of Earth, and a living hell. My psychiatrist is right. I've survived hell on this earth. And frankly, I'm not quite certain how much more I can actually survive. But no doubt I will. By sheer force of willpower alone, if for no other reason. So there is that. God is blessed. Have a beautiful day wherever you are in the space-time continuum, if you're a survivor like me. And if you're a thriver and successful by your own undertakings, don't let the bastards grind you down. We've all worked too hard to build our lives back from heartache and horror, and we deserve to be happy. Bye for now.